Inside Out 2 is definitely Disney's movie of the year.
Oh, look at your hair.
This is also due to the new emotions that have emerged in Riley's mind. But even after watching the movie, did you notice that the fact that envy is so small while embarrassment is huge was meticulously calculated by Disney? For instance, envy is even smaller than anger, who held that spot in Riley's mind before the second movie. Similarly, embarrassment is even bigger and taller than Bing Bong, who was a height reference among the inhabitants of Riley's mind. And believe me, none of this is by chance. Envy, small feeling, big damage. Undoubtedly, the main reason the tiny green character is so small is somewhat linked to its real nature. Envy isn't that way because it wants to be. It was born as envy, so everything it finds beautiful or remotely cool, it wants for itself, or rather for Riley. The creators of the second movie intended to create the feeling that the emotion of envy might seem harmless and small, but the truth is, no matter how small it is, its effects can be enormous and devastating. In fact, Pixar's original idea for envy's appearance was completely different. It would still be small, of course, since the idea is to show that even something small can have significant consequences. Additionally, its appearance wasn't going to be like a common emotion, but rather a kind of tiny gray lizard that could fit in the palm of Joy's hand. And the idea was that this lizard would have an insatiable, so to speak, hunger. And this hunger would be for everything that wasn't its own. So it would grow gradually, eventually reaching Joy's height. The idea was that as it got what it wanted, it would grow to the point of becoming something huge, roughly the size of 4 Joys stacked together, like Godzilla. This would make the emotion truly terrifying. But the idea was completely modified, and the small emotion's appearance changed and ended up being the exact opposite.
Yeah, why?
Envy, eyes and hands. As you might have noticed, Envy's appearance sparked a lot of debate among the Inside Out designers and the entire creative team. In the end, they decided she would be a small, innocent-looking girl, tiny in stature and seemingly non-threatening. Because of this, some parts of her character were made completely different from any of the other emotions. For example, her eyes are bigger than any of the other emotions. Even anxiety and fear, who have bulging eyes and are bigger than envy, don't have eyes as large. This was intentional, of course. After all, how would the emotion desire something if she couldn't see it? So, the entry point for the desire for all things is the eyes of the little green girl. And really, when we look at them, we almost feel like giving her something, even if she doesn't ask for anything. Besides that, the smallest of the emotions also has another unique characteristic. If you look at her hands, you'll notice that she only has 4 fingers. And no, this isn't just a cartoon thing. All the other emotions in Riley's mind, without exception, have 5 fingers. And few people, besides those who watched our video on Easter eggs and details in Inside Out 2, know this. Pixar's hidden idea was that no matter what she had, envy would always feel like something was missing and would want more and more. After all, she was born with 1 less finger on each hand, and that's something she can never have, no matter how much she desires or envies it. This perfectly aligns with the idea that this emotion exists precisely for this purpose. Envy was definitely one of my favorite new emotions in Inside Out 2. What about you? Which one of Riley's emotions is your favorite? Comment below, we'd love to know.
Thank you.
Envy, control panel. The first time Envy appears in Inside Out 2, she's struggling to climb up to Riley's control panel because that's the only way she can reach the controls. After all, she's an emotion and she has the right to do her job in the girl's mind. The problem is that once she's on the control panel, it's very hard for her to leave because it was so difficult to get there in the first place. So if she leaves, she'll have to make that effort all over again to climb back up. This detail is actually part of the essence that Pixar wanted to convey by making Envy so small. When she's somewhere or sees something she likes and wants, from that moment on, she's unlikely to let it go. The idea is that she's like someone who, once they get what they want, won't give it up for anything in the world. In some scenes of the movie, you can see that only when she's on top of the buttons does she really show her true nature. If you pause certain scenes, you might even feel a bit scared of the little girl because her expression really looks like someone who will never stop. Embarrassment. Big. As we mentioned, while envy is the smallest of all the emotions, embarrassment is at the opposite end of the height spectrum, becoming the tallest being in the control center, towering over everyone else.
What's your name, big fella?
Even if you stacked anger and envy on top of each other, embarrassment would still be taller than the two combined. There are a few reasons why the Inside Out 2 creative team chose this design, but the main one is definitely the symbolism of the feeling of embarrassment. It turns small, imperceptible things into much bigger issues than they really are. For example, something as simple as shaking or touching someone's hand, in this case, Joy's, is enough to make embarrassment hide his face and show his butt crack. Thinking about it, if Embarrassment knew everyone would see his backside when he drops to the floor, he'd probably prefer not to do it anymore. But the idea is to show that the feeling of embarrassment, like Riley experiences, is extremely magnified by ourselves. Most things that make us feel embarrassment aren't even noticed by other people, and the embarrassment in the movie, who's in the protagonist's mind, makes sure to make this clear to all of us. Do you know what can help you overcome embarrassment? Watching our videos! So subscribe to our channel right now so you don't miss our daily uploads. Embarrassment. Colors. Besides his large size, the original idea was that the big guy would have a completely different color from the pink that we know. In the initial project, Embarrassment was supposed to have a bluish skin tone and wear blue-toned clothes, and he would still be gigantic. The idea was that he would be the perfect match for Sadness, like they were made for each other. The catch was that since he's Embarrassment, every time he felt embarrassed, they would have to animate his cheeks turning completely pink. This would significantly increase the workload for the team working on the film and create a contrast that wouldn't look very good with the colors, given that the character's blue tone would be darker and the pink would probably be quite bright. So, every time Embarrassment's cheeks turn pink because he's embarrassed, we don't see his skin color change since he's already entirely pink. We have to admit that was a very clever idea by Disney Pixar. In fact, the company made sure that all the details involving the character were pink when possible, like his pants, which are a different shade of pink, but still pink, and his sneakers, which are red to match the character. Embarrassment. Small details. As we mentioned before, every time Embarrassment tries to hide his face by dropping to the floor, part of his butt crack is visible, so it doesn't really help much. It's kind of like when someone closes their eyes thinking no one else will see them. It simply doesn't work. In fact, it makes it worse. After all, it's better to see Embarrassment's face than his butt crack. To cover his face, the character has a hoodie with 2 strings he can use to pull it shut when he feels embarrassed. But the detail is that the character was designed with a much larger nose than any other emotion. And, as you might have guessed, this was done on purpose, since every time the emotion tries to close the hood completely, only his nose sticks out. This was definitely another genius move by Pixar, because no matter how hard he tries, something is always going to be visible. This truly captures the essence of embarrassment. No matter how much you want to hide something, it will always be seen. And most importantly, most people don't care as much as we think they do. Additionally, another meticulously thought out detail by Pixar is how the character communicates. Even Ennui can say a few words that we all understand, but throughout most of the movie, Embarrassment emits some grunts and indecipherable sounds that clearly show he doesn't want to be seen. Only at the end of the movie do we see the character lose his shyness and speak, even extending his hand for Joy to give him a high five, once again showing that the real reason Embarrassment is so big is to demonstrate that no matter how huge we think something embarrassing is, when we don't say or do anything, that small embarrassing detail will hardly be noticed. That's exactly why the character is so big, and at the same time has all these peculiar characteristics. The fact is, I really enjoyed Embarrassment and Envy and Inside Out too. They were definitely my 2 favorite new emotions, though Ennui also surprised me a lot. And since we also love having you with us, we want you to stay longer, so these 2 videos are popping up for you. Choose the one you like best and click on it. See you soon. Thanks!